Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for dialing in to join me. I've opened up the chat, so if you want to pop your name in the chat, say hello, say where you're from, and you can also use that to ask questions as we are going along. So we've got a lot to get through today, so I am going to dive straight in, just welcoming a few people onto the session. Hello, Tanya. Hello, Olivia, Nancy, Crystal, Calvin, I should say, Joanna, Pete, and we have a whole bunch more coming through as well. So let's dive in. Okay, so today we are covering quite a lot. As I have shared, we're going to be diving into building your advisory brand for your firm. And these strategies are going to apply whether you have a larger firm and people working within your firm, or if you are building out a more boutique or niche advisory firm, such as virtual CFO services. All right, so you're going to love it if you are ambitious or disruptive, or both of those two. Whether you are a firm owner, a partner, or perhaps you might be an in-house implementer. So you might be a practice manager, an administrator, a young and hungry accountant. And some of the firms that we work with also have VAs or other support team that help to implement these strategies. So today's session is open forum for everyone. And you will be able to get value regardless of where you sit. So before we dive in, it's really important to know who you are listening to marketing advice and information from. And so a little bit about myself and my background and why I'm sitting in front of you today. So some of you may know that I'm the co-founder of a business called Accountancy, and my business partner, Ange, is partner with me, and she has just sent me a message saying chat is disabled. So I've just tried to enable that now. Let's give that a go. All right, I think we're in. So basically, my background is I was the head of marketing at one of Australia's first advisory networks in the industry that scaled from 0 to 40 million in 3 years. Pretty busy place to be working at. Surely wouldn't necessarily advise it. It was a recipe for burnout. However, lots and lots and lots of lessons learned that we can share with you all. In addition to that, I've also worked as a marketing consultant and also an advisor to the SME market and a range of business owners. So it helps give me a little bit of perspective around the mindset of what your clients are looking for and how to sell to your clients. My business partner, Ange, is a long-time favorite in the industry. She has been a coach for too many years that I won't mention. I might get in trouble with her. But suffice to say, she knows the ins and outs of accounting firms and what works and what doesn't for you guys. And basically, we've come together to join forces to make marketing easy, accessible, possible in a way like never before. And truthfully, it's only possible because of the advances in AI and marketing technology platforms. Much like you have the Xero app software ecosystem, there's also a marketing tech app infrastructure and ecosystem, which now makes some of the things that we used to do with firms even just 5 years ago. Now we can do those with you and for you for a fraction of the price, help you to do it yourself and have a much bigger impact. And that's the game that we're here to play. So we love business. We've been on both sides of the fence as business advisors, as clients to accounting firms and helping accounting firms. And we see when accounting firms thrive and are well positioned to reach the market with their advisory services, the wider business community and communities in general thrive. And that's what we're all about. So we know you're not marketers, you're accountants. So we are here to make it easy for you. All right, and a few fun facts about us before we start. So Ange and I are both Kiwis, but living in sunny Queensland here in Brisbane, Australia. We both like to have a little bit of fun, so you'll always find a little bit of disco and glam at our events. We do things very differently. We've won a few awards for marketing work that we've been part of. I'm a bit of a mental gravel bike rider, and I'm coming back to New Zealand over Christmas to do the Alps to Ocean Trail. And Ange is a bit of a beach bunny, so you will always catch her for a long walk on the beach before we start every session. All right, so let's dive in. I think we've got everyone live with us now online. Make sure if you haven't already access the workbook that accompanies this session, so you can be taking your notes and insights and also share them with some of your team. All right, so let's jump into what is an advisory brand and what does that mean for your firm? So many of you who've been in the industry know about branding and perhaps have even engaged marketing agencies to help you with your branding. So your firm's brand is things like your visual identity, so logo, colors, type, face, fonts, imagery, and any other sort of magic that your graphic designer has put together for you. Your brand personality, so that's the entirety of your firm's brand personality, which is something that we always recommend you dial up. Part of your firm's brand is your team. So that's the expertise and credibility that sit within your team. And really importantly, your results and your reputation. So your brand usually speaks for you on behalf of you, and you have one whether you realize it or not. It may not be what you want it to be though, so that's why you have to curate this quite intentionally. So type a comment in the chat, brand, if you have already invested in some way, shape or form in getting your brand up-leveled for your firm. Could have been with any supplier, but type in brand. Many of you have got your brand values sorted. So let me know if you're already on that train. We love it. So then if we're going to specifically talk about your advisory brand inside this webinar, how is that distinct and different from your firm brand? It's really a sub-segment of your firm's brand with some really intentional focus around it in terms of positioning your firm to be a great match for those who are looking for your higher level advisory style services. And you can do this if you're brand new and just starting a really small firm, you can actually just focus on this. You don't have to do all the rest of it, but it works in either case. All right, awesome. I can see heaps of people have been focusing on their brand, which is amazing. So your advisory brand is a little bit more about the individual profile, perhaps of the founder, of key people in your team. So that's where we look at thought leadership and authority marketing and profiling. Your advisory service brand is really around a framework for results, and we're going to talk about why that's important in a moment. And it's really around authority content that naturally aligns to your advisory arm of your firm, as opposed to content for the sake of content or generic content. So this is our focus for this session. And why is it important? All right, so, I'm not going to dive into it in this session. You've all heard about it at every industry event and conference that you've been to in the last year, and every webinar, everyone's talking about AI, right? But realistically, what AI is going to impact the most in the industry is the lowest tiers of compliance and advisory. So advisory is already some very cool software that is automating and using AI to deliver what I call lower tier sort of advisory style offerings. So if that's where we are now already, if you look over the next 5 years, focusing on a strong human-centered advisory brand for your firm is going to help future-proof. I know we all hate that term, but your firm. It also creates meaningful work for you and your team that aligns with your vision. We all know there's a talent shortage in the industry, and one of the ways to help mitigate that is to ensure that you are positioning your firm as a place where you're doing meaningful work that makes a difference, and that's something that team want to be part of, and that's attractive to team in the market. And let's be honest, one of the ways that you can retain great team is to be paying them well. The only way you can pay them well is if you are also charging appropriately in the marketplace. The stronger your advisory brand is, you can charge a lot more for the same service delivered in the same way to the same type of client base. I know that's kind of hard to believe, but it's already happening across the industry. We have examples of firms that are almost charging triple the amount for very, very comparable offerings to other firms. And it's got nothing really to do with their expertise behind the scenes. It's all about perceived expertise, right? What people can see from outside your firm. And that's where marketing comes in. As I had on one of my slides earlier, marketing is often a dirty word in the industry, and it's not necessarily about more clients, but it's definitely about better clients and better positioning for your firm. If you think about celebrities, if you think about if you've ever paid or behind the scenes tickets at a conference or a photo with a famous celebrity, there's no inherent value in the photo with that person. It's your perception of the value. And so building a strong advisory brand enables you to have people reaching out to you, either to work with you in advisory capacity as your client, or perhaps as strategic alliances or industry partners who maybe want you on their stage or to get you in front of their audiences. All right, so we want to have people coming to you. Let's take a hot minute to look at the opportunity for your firm, and it is different to each firm, but there's some really common ground here in terms of your advisory revenue share in your firm and your focus for growth over the next either financial year or calendar year in 2025. All right, so volume is the number of usually compliance or sort of tax return style clients in your firm. Value relates to where you have less clients, but they're a higher value each. And typically, when you look at where the biggest profit or margin share come from, we know that that's typically from a small percentage of your client base that are actually delivering a high percentage of your profit. And most of the complaints and troublesome clients are the ones paying the least, and there can be a lot of them, right? So we're looking to move up the value ladder, position those higher level services in your firm. So let's say, for argument's sake, and this could be $1,000, it could be $50,000. Some firms it could be $500,000, depending on your client type. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that a new advisory client over the course of the year might be worth $5,000 to your firm. And if you think about over a 3-year period, that's going to be more like circa $15,000. If you've got new clients, so clients coming into your firm and cross-selling or upselling current clients in your client base into some of your advisory services. So it's really important to think about the return on investment, so ROI, for your time and intentionality and energy in terms of your marketing and what that can look like in terms of results. So if we say, like a lot of the firms we help with, we just plug in some sample numbers. So if you brought in 10 new clients and upsold 10 current clients, I think those are very conservative numbers. If you have a large client base already, then you can probably add a 0 behind those. You're looking at an immediate circa uplift of over $100,000 in fees, or just make those numbers relevant to your firm. So in terms of a focus for the year ahead, I'm really keen to see how ambitious everyone is. You may be very familiar with your goals, or these might be things that you are sort of working through as we move into the new year, but we're going to reverse engineer and work backwards a plan to help you fulfill on these. So type into the chat. I'd love to see, don't give away any confidential information about your firm, but circa the size of the goal that you are aiming for. Are you aiming for an elephant, giraffe, or just baby step to get your firm going. So let's jump into the chat, share some of your thoughts. It really helps just to get this sort of thought started before we dive in to the how. All right, so while you're doing that, let's cover off a few of the marketing mistakes that seem to keep firms stuck. Because when you look at the slide previously, it's a fairly easy win if you have a bit of a focus on your marketing efforts for bringing in new advisory fees. So what is it that keeps everyone kind of stuck? And you've got a bit of a page on this in your workbook. So a few things that where we see firms wasting the most time and energy. And by the way, none of these mistakes are fatal, but for many of you, your most precious resource is time, even more precious than money. So we need to be really intentional around that. So things that can trip people up is following marketing advice from LinkedIn gurus or online business coaches who have a different business model and a different client type than you. And they also spend a disproportionate amount of time on their marketing. So what that means is often if you're, following someone and they give advice, you're going to be executing what we'd call quite high effort, low impact strategies for your firm. All right, rather than focusing on things that might move the needle. Another common mistake is overlooking the internal marketing and communication strategies to cross-sell into your current client base and also just to generate referrals. So sometimes this is the easiest win, even for up-leveling your advisory. And a lot of firms will say, well, we don't think there's anyone in our client base who would buy higher level services. And that's not necessarily the case. It's just that it hasn't been positioned in a way that's attractive to them. Another key mistake is relying on your virtual assistant or an external digital marketing agency or even an in-house coordinator to develop your marketing strategy. We're going to go through why that doesn't work a bit later on. And then another thing is you can often be putting in effort, but tanking your results by using really generic content without adding a sprinkle of your own advisory marketing magic on the top. And we can help you do that. And it takes about 5% extra time other than just using something generic. We can really significantly create better results. So you might be taking a note of a few of those. Because what we really want to think about here is that your advisory brand is not really just competing against other accountants or bookkeepers. In fact, truth be told, there's not really that many firms that are doing this well in the industry. So you're not really competing against another accounting firm. What you're really fighting against is wallet share and mental bandwidth for your clients against all the other advisors and coaches and gurus and even just free information sources online. So it's really important that we can help you stand out and also, let's bring the sexy back so that what you do, which is, a much more credible, nuanced, high level and personalized service for your clients is positioned as the most compelling proposition. So let's talk about 5 marketing strategies to help you do that. That's why we're here, right? So the first one is to inject some personality into your advisory brand. So this doesn't have to be expensive. You don't need to engage an agency to do a $50,000 rebrand. But you do need to have a little bit of courage. So who's familiar? Who was a 90s hip hop child? Anybody familiar with Missy Elliott? Get your freak on. It's all right if the answer is no, but I'm really hoping there's at least one yes in the chat. Yay! All right, so if you want to stand out, the easiest way to stand out from the crowd is with some high quality professional photographs. I'm not talking about corporate headshots. I'm talking about lifestyle photography. We've just helped a whole bunch of members in our X Factor Club and some of our high level clients to roll this out. And it's just instantly transform their marketing. And you can usually find a local photographer in your area to do this. Putting your photo and incorporating that, obviously it might be on your website already, but across the entirety of your marketing is one of the fastest ways to up level and start building like a human connection with your market, because that's who people buy from, right? People buy from people. They don't buy from logos. And there's a very small amount of examples around the world of really big brands like Nike and Apple that people use as examples. But, unless you have mega million, billion-dollar budgets and distribution, the reality is the fastest way to connect and create resonance is through your identity, yourself as the founder, your team, and to also bring some personality into it. So what's your unique freak? What do you like to do on the weekends? I mean, let's keep it, PG, not the R18 version, but what do you like to do on the weekends? Are you a hiker? Do you cook up crazy recipes? Are you, a wine connoisseur, and you could tell the difference between, all of the different varietals and the different regions? Add something a bit fun and unique into your marketing. How can someone know you as a person? And we think, oh, who would want to know that? But you would be surprised that that is probably often one of the only things that people can remember about you compared to, everyone else going around. And it's really important that you show the world that you're a normal person. We get this comment from firms we work with all the time that they say to their accountants, oh, you're like a normal person. Or even heard recently someone say, oh, my last accountant didn't really have a pulse. I can connect with you. So we're going to show that we're real people. And you've got to remember that particularly in today's environment of social media and entertainment, people do want to be entertained. So you can be a bit cheeky and a bit fun. And then another one is having a strong POV. POV stands for point of view. So in today's landscape with AI, there's a lot of information and how to, being spread everywhere, but it's very beige or very vanilla or very safe. So what is something you have a strong point of view around that you can, be bold enough to convey and take a stand for? Because it's very likely that this is something that will resonate with your ideal clients. It's your superhero status, if you will. What are you passionate about? And having a strong point of view can immediately cut through the noise and can be embedded either into an individual advisory profile or as part of something that the advisors within a firm umbrella or a network of firms stand for and are passionate about. And you will find that it makes writing content or posts or putting together themes so much easier. All right. If you dare, go ahead and type in something that's unique about you, a hobby or a passion or something that you could bring to life in your brand in the chat. As I mentioned, Ange and I have quite a few, and we're certainly not shy about it, which kind of leads me to one of my next points is sometimes accountants say, well, that's all very well for you. You're marketers, you should be out there. We're accountants. We just want to be hidden away behind the scenes. We don't want to toot our own horn or brag. And Australia and New Zealand both have very strong tall poppy syndrome. And I grew up in a very conservative area in the South Island of New Zealand. So trust me, I know. And you have to think about what's appropriate for your area and your market. However, the reality is, how can your firm become the go-to advisory firm if no one knows about you? And if no one knows about you, no one's going to inquire about your services. You're not going to be able to make a bigger impact. I think that when it comes to sharing valuable information and expertise and insights, it's really not about self-promotion. yourself personally. It's about strategic visibility for your firm. And also, it's about adding value. So, if you have something important to share with your community, or if you have some amazing insights that you know would make a real difference for so many, that's about being sharing value and being of service as opposed to making it about yourself. What is making it about yourself is thinking that people are going to be, caring what you think. That's being self-absorbed, and we can all do that. But if we focus on adding value, and if you are a owner of a firm, this is going to be mission critical for you becoming visible outside of the screen and sharing value. If you work in a firm, then you will have the role of helping to elicit that from your other partners and people in the firm to help bring that forth. And I guess it's fair to say, right? If you put yourself out there and someone doesn't like it, great. You've just screened them out of your practice and your life, because there's nothing worse than working with clients that don't get you and don't value you. So flip it on its head and use that to your advantage. All right, we've got some trail runners, rugby mums. Another fellow bikie chick. Oh, that might be motorbike, I think, actually. And we've got a few people as well, I know, who do random DJ stuff and gymnastics and Uber mum, few of those. So bring that to life as part of your brand, because everyone who buys and spends money are also real people too, and they can relate. All right, next strategy is to empower your team to build your brand. Oh my goodness, I just love some of these ones coming through. Pete, slow road cyclist. Well, I'm a trail rider, but I'm pretty slow too. So, and I think that that's something people, can relate to and love. So your team in your firm, and even if you are a sole practitioner here on today's session, you can engage a virtual assistant or someone in a super part-time contracted capacity to help you if you want. Your team are an untapped goldmine. So with the right technology and guidance, they can be creating magic for you, so that everything's not reliant on you as the partner. So sometimes people that are working directly with clients and who aren't in charge of the whole business have a bit more mental bandwidth to help sort of identify and curate case studies for your firm, look at relevant topics or content, because they are hearing what clients are struggling with all the time. So sometimes even, for example, client success managers or practice administrators or admin support team can be really good with this, because they can see recurring issues or themes across the firm and across clients. And your team can also help you with a few questionnaires and sort of role playing, curate some opinion pieces. So if you have a bit of a strategy and some pro forma templates in place, this doesn't just have to be up to you as a partner. And you can also empower your team by training them. It's something we do if you're not familiar with it, training them how to use ChatGPT and Canva templates. And there's also a raft of other AI tools to create advisory marketing pieces. So let's forget for a minute, obviously there's some security issues around what you do with client work and client information, but in this case, we're talking about a marketing context. So you can be a lot more liberal in your approach. So your team can help you create amazing social media, lead magnets, webinar slides, just like this slide deck here. EVP packs, for those of you who don't know, EVP stands for Employee Value Proposition. So how you go out to market to effectively attract candidates, not just clients, for your firm. So this is something that we've had a lot of success with, and I really feel is an untapped treasure, if you will, for many firms. And I think the key is that your team do need to have the right strategy and support and templates. Don't just say, hey, spend some time marketing, because if they're young, they'll probably just go a bit wild on TikTok, which may not necessarily help you generate any results in your firm, unless that is specifically where your ideal client profile is searching for information quite niched around. So there are a few exceptions, but in most cases, that is not where we would be starting. All right, write down a few names of people in your team. If anything's just kind of popping up and coming to mind on your workbook around who could be an untapped resource in your firm, and let me tell you, most firms we walk into, there's really cool people doing roles who are great at what they do, but absolutely leap at the opportunity to do something just a little bit creative or fun or different for a few hours a month outside their regular roles to enable growth and expansion and opportunities for them. Here's a very quick example of some resources from our club. We have a full EVP template, so employee value proposition template for firms to put together to document their culture, why they are different, why it's amazing to work for them, and all the benefits of the role. So basically, why you would want to choose working for this firm, not just another firm. And the example on the right, I've kept it small to keep it sort of confidential. It was put together by a team member in the firm, not the partner, very quickly using these resources in Canva. So it's really amazing what can be done with a bit of the right structure and format. And I think that for most of the firms on this session, having an advisory brand that is attractive to clients, but also is something that is embodied by your team and is also attractive to new team, is what's going to allow you also to sustain growth. Yes. All right. So we're going to talk about thought leadership in a moment. Some good comments. All right. Now let's talk very specifically about your ICP for your advisory services. So ICP, I've already given the game away. I've mentioned it a couple of times on this webinar. Please type in the chat if you already know what that means and you're already across it. For some of the firms, if you have a larger sort of firm and wide range of service offerings, you might have a couple of different ICP avatars or different sort of profiles. And you don't have to choose just one. All right, so got to be quick in this comment game, ICP, because I need to share. It's really about your ideal client profile. Now, in this context, we're talking about for your advisory services and for your advisory brand. So your firm can still take on any client. I'm just talking about for gaining momentum with your marketing. So you don't have to have a niche for your firm. I know that there's a lot of debate around that. You don't have to have a niche, but you do need to create some targeted messagings for various campaigns or marketing collateral that you create so that it's more effective. So the more specific it is to the ideal client profile, the more likely they are to engage with it and find it, sort of attractive. So there's so much content out there, right? ChatGPT can churn out content faster than anyone else. So, and likewise, people can type question into Google and will find all sorts of information. So it's not really about more information per se. It's about transformation, right? So we're not in the age of information anymore. Now information is just the norm. Well, now people are looking for transformation, and transformation relates to results. And the way that people are looking for results is they're thinking about it from their own lens and their own problems, issues, challenges, and goals and dreams. So if we take a couple of examples, right? So Bob, these are just really cliche. Bob the builder, Sally the surgeon, and Emma, who's in charge of ESG initiatives in her company, what they might be looking for or their issues or problems is very different, right? So Bob the builder is probably looking for some really specific strategies to help his business manage cash flow in relation to their tax liabilities and obligations, because the construction industry, you know, is so up and down in terms of when they get paid. Sally, the surgeon, is probably looking for some tax minimization strategies for high net worth individuals, specifically for her, if she's operating either as an employee or some type of contractor. And Emma might be looking for some really specific details around reports or how to introduce ESG reporting for their sustainability initiatives in the company she's in. So if you think about how you would appeal to those three different markets, you know, something very generic isn't going to appeal to any of them. Whereas something quite specific is suddenly hyper appealing to one of them. And you don't have to just choose one and cut off all other options. All we do is we sort of rotate across a quarterly basis, different campaign focuses for different areas of growth in your firm. And sometimes that might tie in with what naturally makes sense across the course of a calendar. All right, here's just a little example. And let's take a very common sort of resource that's used across the industry, 7 ways to improve your cash flow. I'm not throwing this on the bus. This was one of the original resources that was created as part of the advisory network that I was in, that has been bought and used in most of the advisory coaches and systems since then. So it's great content, but the problem is now everyone has that content. And if you think back to Bob, Sally, and Emma, it may not be appealing to any of them. But this is how you can empower your team, or you can do it yourself, to use AI to help you create hyper-targeted marketing with the right training. So here's an example of turning something that you might already have. So you might already have an ebook or a resource called 7 Ways to Improve Your Cash Flow. You might think about who your ideal client profile is that you're targeting for a particular time in your firm. And here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different examples of basically the same content, just with a different title. And I just got these from ChatGPT, all right? So just using a very specific prompt, you can take any sort of generic headline that you have for any existing giveaways, freebies, lead magnets, or blog articles, and combine that with your ideal client profile to make it very specific. So type into the chat if you can see how these headlines or hooks are more magnetic to particular subsegments of your market than just a very generic offering, right? So here we had 7 hospitality cash flow hacks. So obviously if you ran a cafe or a restaurant, that's going to be really appealing to you. Whereas if you're a startup who's trying to juggle cash flow in your first year, this one's going to be very specific for you. So we take this sort of approach across the lens of your marketing to create sort of holistic themes for social media posts, for blog articles, for content, and you can target it. So we've had a number of clients and firms that we work with in New Zealand, really big rural farming, like business communities. And if you think about it, like we've helped tweak quite a lot of their content and messaging, and it's just immediately been snapped up because people want to see, oh, that's for me. Okay, great, thank you, as opposed to that's for everyone. And even if you have qualification criteria, so let's say you're at a point where you can be a bit picky who you work with, and you say, we only work with firms who are doing $1 to $10 million revenue and looking to scale up. Even then, using disqualification criteria to disqualify people who don't meet that makes it even more attractive to people who do meet that criteria, because they know, oh, they've got the right expertise and experience in helping people in my situation. And they deduce that based off your marketing headline rather than reading your bio around what your actual experience is. So this is where accountants and bookkeepers and genuine advisors get outperformed by business coaches and people shilling stuff online in this arena, because they're better at this game. So that's what we're here to help you do. All right, strategy number 4, experiential marketing. So the higher the selling point for your advisory fees or your services, the longer the dating process, right? So advisory services where you're selling a retainer package are much like a relationship. So you wouldn't necessarily start that process with a marriage proposal. You might take someone out on a date, see if you comfortable with each other, if it's a good fit, if it's a good match, right? So this is one of the reasons why just advertising your service tiers and price points on your website sometimes doesn't work, or just sending out information to clients doesn't work. So the stronger your brand, though, the more likely someone is to sign up for a relationship without going through the dating process, because they've seen you through all your marketing online. So they've already formed a positive opinion of you. Whereas if they haven't, you really want to cultivate some what we call experiential marketing. So that's where someone can have an experience of you as the advisor and an experience of what's possible through you or through your firm. So the results that are possible through you. So this is why things like webinars, events, videos, podcasts, actual face-to-face consultations, or even a virtual Zoom consultation can help with this process, particularly when you're looking for to charge higher fees and to build your brand around sort of premium positioning or pricing. So none of the things on this slide, though, are necessarily easy to do without a bit of support, but they can really make the difference between exploding your advisory brand and just kind of inching by, competing with everyone else who's doing the same. And you don't have to necessarily do these yourself in your firm. You can get started through strategic partners whereby they do the hard work and put it together, and you jump on their stage or their platform or their process. But I think these are not all of them, but you can pick and choose which suits you, but they are essential ingredients in terms of building a really standout advisory brand. So much like you're joining me here today, if you don't enjoy this webinar and you don't enjoy our style, you're probably not going to enjoy working with us, right? So you go, okay, cool, that's not for me. But if you do and you can see, all right, I can see this makes sense, there's going to be a lot more trust when we're going to have a conversation, because how we are on the webinar is how we are with our clients. So it's totally cool. Not everyone's for you, and you're not for everyone. And I find that actually makes business a lot more fun, is when you attract people that there's a really good alignment. All right, strategy number 5. I don't know if anyone grew up in the era of rock and roll concerts or going to gigs, but if you've ever done that move on screen, you will know round 1 is kind of fun. Round 2 is also pretty fun. But by the time you get to round 3, you're getting a bit over it. And marketing's a bit like that. All right, so I'd love to hear in the chat who's tried this move, who knows this move, or who maybe has had a friend put their back out doing this move. And basically marketing is much the same, right? So it's like you've got to do the headbang move for a whole year, and then you start seeing amazing results. And it's fun for the first little bit, but this is where you need structure, support, and things to leverage off to help you keep going. All right, so marketing is a compound investment that yields bigger dividends over time. And it's not something you can stop and then start. and then expect to gain momentum. So I know that in the industry, obviously, there's genuine issues around capacity, and the tendency is to take the foot off the gas when you're over capacity. But what we are helping our clients and firms to do is keep the foot on the marketing pedal, keep that foot on the gas, and you just shut off new onboarding and put up a wait list and then onboard when you're ready. So it's about building up more demand than there is supply, but being strategic and controlling that process. All right. And much like you give your clients structure and accountability so they can keep that momentum, even when they're, don't want to do their head banging. Much like you do that for your clients, you also need that in your firm. And I'm surprised we don't have more head bangers in the chat. We'll have to remedy that at an event. All right, so wanted to share a quick case study. One of the firms that we work with here in Brisbane, some of you already are friendly with, Megan from Third Space. So she's a real gun, a disruptor in the industry, a very cool energy and a cool vibe, and started her own firm to basically work on her terms and create a really great culture. So she already had a big vision for growth and impact, but really she was just looking for a shortcut to help facilitate execution. She was spending too many unproductive hours in Canva. So some of you have already been behind the scenes and utilized the tools and been in Canva. And again, like the head banging move, it's fun for the beginning. But then when you realize you have to maintain that momentum across the course of years, you realize, okay, I just want to hack somebody else's templates. She had a great brand and a website already, but it was kind of sitting in a holding pattern, just on the internet, but not really doing anything with no other marketing momentum. And so with creating consistency around implementation and execution, she's starting to really get noticed. And you may have seen it if you're in Brisbane, which is really cool. And her consistent social media posts are going up every week, and it's really only taking her and her team about 10% of the time that it used to. Very easy now to delegate this task internally. And she's been really authentic with owning her own style and flavor. And that hits and together with some of the tools, so like the EVP that she created for her firm using the template from the club, she's been able to attract new candidates, so new team for her firm. 3, I think, onboarded just very recently after previously struggling to do so. And she has a wait list of clients and wants to stop marketing, but we're keeping going with her. So it's very exciting times, and her firm will just continue to go from strength to strength. Here's a very quick example of some of the marketing materials that have been rolled out in her firm, just really over the last sort of 4 to 5 months, I would say now in total. So everything looks really cohesive, premium brand sort of positioning, her style, but really, really fast and easy. So all of these sorts of things work together to create the momentum, as opposed to any one-hit wonder, if we're going to use the rock star analogy. All right, so we won't go into the quiz on the webinar, but in your workbook, you have a score where you can look at where you think your firm's sitting in terms of your advisory brand plan and current capabilities for execution. So you can do that, and you can always let us know how you score. Now let's see if there are any questions. We also are going to cover off the roadmap for 2025 in just a moment. But let's see if there are any questions so far from anyone on the call, or anything that you were really, really hoping that we covered off that we haven't already around advisory brand marketing for your firm. I'll just add a note. And if you type anything in, we'll keep going through the 2025 game plan, and you can type in any questions as we go. I know we've covered a lot. So, in your workbook, you will have your marketing matrix. So this is impact on one axis and effort versus ease on the other axis. This is something that here's Ange and I that we use in our live strategy days that we run for firms. It's really working out of all of the marketing activity you could be doing in your firm, which strategies are the most effective in terms of creating the biggest impact or results relative to the amount of effort that's required to execute them. So it's really important to be mindful, and you can take a screenshot of this, this is no worries. It's just important to be mindful that what might be high impact for your firm may not be the case for another firm, or what might be harder for your firm to execute might be easier for a different firm based on your starting position and based on your capabilities. But I just wanted to highlight a few things. We look over this left-hand column, so upper left quadrant. Quick wins for your firm, really things like booking in consultations from your existing client base, partnering with strategic alliances who also serve your ideal client profiles, building out some cool newsletters in your firm to better engage your current client database and to convert people that come onto your subscriber base. I'm not talking about newsletters that just have information overload. Accountants love to read and love consuming very detailed information. Most of your clients and prospects don't. That's what they rely on you for. So you actually want to use your newsletters to build your brand, to help facilitate engagement, connection, transformation, not necessarily just hyper detailed information, which I know is quite often the standard in the industry. And that's something that if you create a shift towards, you will start to see results. Some things like social media are a tricky one, right? Because we advocate for accounting firms spending less time on social media, but doing it in a templated, easy way so you still, your brand is relevant. You know, if you haven't posted anything on social media for 2 years, potential candidates or clients go to research your firm on social media and they think, is this firm still around? Are they still operating? Is it still relevant? But it may not necessarily help you get in front of a very wide audience of new potential clients unless you already have a large number of followers or connections. So it's not necessarily the case that following what the social media gurus tell you to do will work for your firm, because they have a very different business model and they target a mass market. Whereas you want to think really strategically around which platforms is your ideal client profile on and how you do that. There's some things up here on the upper right-hand quadrant that I think are amazing. Podcasting, digital funnels, thought leadership. I put them in the high effort and high impact. So they have a very high impact, but they do take high effort. So extracting thought leadership from accountants is something that we're going to create some specific training around, because we have quite a few members that we work with who need to facilitate that through partners in the firm, or if you're a partner, how you can start articulating some of those things that you have a point of view around. So because you can't outsource that one. In the low effort, but low impact quadrant, things like fully just outsourcing social media to an agency. It seems low effort because it feels like they're doing all the work, but the effort is in you having to liaise with the agency. You never build any in-house capabilities, so it's like a Groundhog Day. And it typically doesn't have a great impact because they just don't get your firm. And so we can go through this sort of thing together in an individual strategy session, but it's really important just to consider your own time and energy internally for where you focus on. All right, so a roadmap for next year. Got to be clear on your vision. What's your vision for your firm? If your firm is a larger firm with a broad spectrum of capabilities and hyper growth mode, your vision, and therefore number two, your goals or very specific targets or KPIs around client intakes or advisory onboarding, very different than if you're just building a niche virtual CFO advisory with a very small specialized team. All right, so we've always got to reverse engineer this backwards. The strategies, number three, like we showcased on the marketing matrix, you need to be clear around what these is so you're not wasting time unnecessarily on activity that doesn't yield results. And conversely, focusing your time on those areas that will make an impact. You want to make sure, just moving my screen, because I've got two screens going, that you are being as efficient as possible. All right. So utilize existing resources like the ones we have in the club or that you may already have access to elsewhere. Make sure you are then strategically harnessing AI and marketing technology platforms to up level and your resources and templates that you have access to give it your flavor, your personality, and make sure you stand out in the market. That's the last 5% of that step, but that will give you much, much greater impact. All of the most successful firms we see doing this have some form of coaching or support. So, and that aligns with accountability and a structure, right? So some of you who are joining on this webinar today are probably going, yeah, we know most of these strategies, or we know this, but that's not going to help move the needle for your firm. It's the implementation and it's the doing, the execution, right? So, and this will be a similar sort of roadmap process that you would lay out and be adopting, no doubt, with many of your advisory clients. So we're going to share a little bit about the X Factor Club. Hi, Crystal. I see you're online. So around how we can help you save time in implementing some of these strategies inside our club. So what we are really passionate about is helping firms to just make an impact faster. All right. So if you need to jump off, no dramas. If you want to have a little sticky beat for 2 minutes, stay online. Inside our X Factor Club, which we have firms who are members of in both Australia and New Zealand, city firms, regional firms, we run marketing training. So a little bit different than this type of training that we're on now. This is a public-facing training. It's a little bit more generic in nature. Our marketing training inside the club is just hyper focused on the how. So not really going into the why or the what, but just the how, the tactical how, and a game plan for how to execute some of these things that we talk about. For everything that we talk about, we have templates and resources. So there's no, like we said, there's no good knowing how are you going to do it. So we have templates that we've already created for you. So social media templates, done. Workbook templates, done. Like the workbook that you downloaded for this webinar, very similar to one of the workbooks that we have available for our members to use. And then the same thing with these webinar slides, quite similar to the content we've created for our firm members. Some of you already have access to cool webinar content, but it just looks really, in a nice way, very, very old because it's coming from old sources. So we can just help you jazz it up a little bit. Coaching and support. So that you can know what to do in your situation, or sometimes just a little bit of whip cracking to keep you rocking and rolling. And really importantly, someone in your firm needs to be learning about AI in this context to help you move forward. There's just no way about that. You will see over the next couple of years a huge difference between firms that have adopted this and those that have been left behind. So obviously, there's a lot more details in the club, and if you're interested, we can book you in for a demo and show you all of the details behind the scenes. We've priced it really affordably, so you really only need one advisory client across the whole year to cover your costs. It's a no-brainer. We also have higher level done for you options as well, but we wanted to make this accessible for every firm. And how it works is book in for a virtual coffee if you just want to have a chat about your goals first. As you can see from the session, we're not scary. We'll take you through a demo, show you inside the club's platforms so you can see how it would work for your firm. And then we get started really quickly with Ignition. So you get access to everything, the training, the resources, jump you on some member meetups and coaching calls and get you going. So it's really simple, and we're rolling out our calendar for 2025 at the moment. All right, so I guess that's the end of our session today. It's really all about helping you move from being really good at what you do to making sure that the world outside your firm can see how good you are at what you do, and most importantly, the impact that you make for your clients. So really, that's part of the journey, is positioning your services, not just performing them behind the scenes. So we would love to have you on that journey with us. After the session, we will send through an email with details around how you can book in for a call or book in for a demo. And thank you so much for taking this time out of your day, and for our member firms who are also here live with us today. You can access and see the style of template inside the club under the cash flow campaign section. All right, so thank you everyone. And my encouragement to you is to take action before you're ready. If you feel ready, it's too late, right? So we appreciate you. We love what you guys are up to in the industry and look forward to supporting more of you with the wonderful work you do. All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye. All right.